It's a Friday morning press conference, and this week we've got the Minister for Education and Children, Mr. Crookall, and also his right-hand man. And really, I'd like to just start with you, Mr. Crookall. I mean, you've been in the job, what, a week?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Anything you found that you are surprised with, or anything you want to share with the public at the moment? Any policy changes?
No, not really. It's far too early for that yet. This week's been a busy week. It's come to the end of the term, and I've been trying to get round, sort of, besides having meetings with the officers, trying to get round to some of the schools that have invited me and the members out there, for prize presentations and leaving ceremonies and things. So we haven't had a chance to do that. We'll do that over the summer. We've got the 6 weeks after today where it's quiet with regards to the schools. While I'll get up to speed with the officers as to what's going on.
And what's it like for you, keep having to change at the helm?
It's obviously interesting for us to have to keep inducting new politicians into our department, but it's part of the role, and we're very happy that our new minister is hitting the ground running and asking lots of questions, and we'll be working with him, as he says, over the summer to make sure that he's got all the answers he needs to be able to make decisions going forward.
Okay. One thing that can't wait is preschooling. I mean, this is now in place, done by your predecessor. Were you in favour of that idea?
So something had to happen at the end of the day. I mean, the council ministers made a decision to support Mr. Karen. That decision came from the department, and we respect that. Whether I would have made the same decision...
Well, I'm asking you, would you have made the same decision?
Well, I wasn't aware of the facts at the time, so I mean, I might have gone for the student grants, looked at that and found, done it that way. But I mean, the decision's been made, and come September, we will be providing, or we will, be supporting, but there will be private provision, if you like, for the preschool schools. So,
in between all that political sort of speech there, you would have looked elsewhere, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would have considered everything else, absolutely, yeah. I mean, preschool is very important, and hopefully they'll get a big uptake on it in September. We haven't had all the figures back yet, but preschool is definitely very important.
Well, let's talk about the preschool, because I've made a few calls, and it's not going to happen properly, is it? There's some of these schools can't get the numbers they need to actually start it in September. You're obviously aware of that. It's not going to take off as you would have hoped, anyway.
Well, as we'd hoped. I mean, I don't know what you think by what we'd hoped. I mean...
Well, you presumably wanted all the areas, the Isle of Man, to have the preschooling. You wanted full
Yeah,
days.
but I'm not aware of those figures yet. I mean, we had till the end of this week. I think, as far as I know, it was Friday the 20th was the day when they were sort of going to make their decision. So, I mean, you might have heard from individuals, but I certainly haven't heard.
I only made some calls and people talking to me, so I thought you'd be more in the know than me about it. But it looks to me that there could be a few of these that may not be able to start purely because not enough people have signed up. Your comments?
Right. I mean, if that's the case, then that'd be a great shame. But I mean, certainly every help has been given to them, and I'm sure will be given if that's the case. But I'm not aware of those facts yet, Paul. So
this is next week's news, if it is then, I suppose. But I mean, it's disappointing then if it is the case. Then
it will be disappointing, because I know there was a lot of interest shown by parties wanting to run these preschools. So I'll be very disappointed. If for whatever reason it's not going to happen in some areas, because obviously you're aware that what was available before wasn't available to everybody around the island, so it was a bit of a postcode lottery. So the idea of this was to make it available fair around the whole of the island. But if that's not going to happen, then I'm disappointed to hear that.
How does that affect your end of things? I mean, if people don't want to take up these offers, have you got Plan B?
I don't think there's any such thing as a Plan B on this. I think what we're saying is that we have ceased to provide preschool as a department. That was a policy decision, and one that's now been executed. We always said that we would be very happy to lease out the premises to private providers if there was a demand for that. And I think it's probably far too early yet to tell whether that demand is going to be fulfilled, because suddenly there is not a need for parents to register by a certain date. Some parents may well decide that they're going to take up the offer towards the end of the autumn term rather than at the start of the autumn term, and that's a pattern we'll wait and see. We don't know how parents will behave when they're able to make choices that they weren't able to make before.
The problem with what you just said there is that the preschooling may not exist by then, because if the schools can't run, because they've got to be in the private sector now, haven't they? Or some charities, admittedly. But if they haven't got the pupils coming in, they won't probably be there to offer that service later on.
Well, what we've said to the providers all along is that we will do our very best to be as flexible as possible about lettings, Therefore, if a provider is having trouble filling a whole day but can do half a day for economically, or even do 3 sessions a week economically, then come back and they can talk to us and we'll reduce their lease and increase it again when their numbers pick up, which we think over time they probably will do. But it's a commercial decision now for those providers, and I think it's far too early to start condemning it to the bin and saying it's not working. I think we've got to look over the next few months to see how it develops. And we all know that on the Isle of Man, if people have a choice, they often don't get round to exercising it till the day before they want something to happen. You know, I think we'll find parents come out of the woodwork, if you like, over the summer months in a way that they weren't able to do under the previous system. So I think it's too early yet to make that judgment.
Would you accept maybe you haven't advertised it well enough, maybe, or got the word out?
But it wasn't for us to advertise, it's for those individuals who are running what is now a commercial venture to advertise. We have last week started to roll out the credit scheme. Take one that's already good. We've got, I think, around 230, 240 applications already in, and we're seeing that increase day on day. So maybe that will be the catalyst as well, that brings parents in contact with the providers when they suddenly have in their hands a credit that is for an amount of money to spend.
Okay. Will you revisit this if it doesn't work, Minister?
No, the policy's been made now, and we have to move on. You know, that was a decision made, and you know, as I said earlier, we've got issues and options to look at, and this isn't one of them now.
What about future budgets? So you've got to go back and obviously trim some more next year. I mean, so this is the university funding will be in your sights?
Everything is in the sights. You know, Treasury are asking us to make savings all the time. So you know, as I said to you, over the next 6 weeks and beyond that, obviously, we'll be looking at everything that education and children does and how they do it.
You're not going to unravel anything that Mr. Cameron put in place then?
No, I don't think so. From what I've learned in the last week, as far as I know, those are there to stay.